My dental hygienist always says Invisalign is like Game of Thrones. They're not the first to do it, they just have better marketing. That of course referencing The Witcher. And everywhere you look, you'll see The Witcher and Game of Thrones TV shows being compared by low-effort tabloid journalism. But you can't deny the similarities. In my Witcher 3 10 Hidden Secrets video, I covered a handful of Game of Thrones references, but I felt like I had to rush through them all so they wouldn't take up the entire video. And even then, I found even more Game of Thrones references after making that video. So I decided to make a whole video covering every single Game of Thrones reference and Easter egg in The Witcher 3 that I could find. If you come to the small island on the west side of Skellig, on the island of, please don't ask me to pronounce that, you will find this Game of Thrones type castle, which is full of pirates. I mean, I died like 3 times trying to get inside. Assuming you follow the main path, you come across this entrance that is similar to that of the Eyrie. And making your way down into the castle ruins, you'll find a pirate leader who has the key to the prison cells. Inside one of the cells, you'll find a familiar looking dead dwarf, obviously referencing Tyrion Lannister. Interacting with the corpse will even make Geralt comment referencing the events at the Eyrie during the first season.
Sky cells. Nice idea for a prison without bars. Shame he didn't know how to fly.
Just like Cyberpunk, there are some rewards you can get from linking your GOG account. You claim these by visiting Yennefer's room inside the Royal Palace in Vizima. One of the armor sets you get looks awfully familiar. That's because this is Jaime Lannister's armor that he gets in the later seasons of Game of Thrones after he leaves the Kingsguard. During the main seasons of Game of Thrones, Jon Snow is given a sword called Longclaw, which becomes his signature weapon. There is actually a type of sword in The Witcher 3 called Longclaw as well. It doesn't look like Longclaw, but it's called Longclaw nonetheless. With that being said, in House of the Dragon, you can actually see the Witcher version of Longclaw added to the Iron Throne. The Blood and Wine DLC added the new location of Toussaint, but the children here seem to have gotten lost or confused. Some of them think they're in Westeros. Some of the NPC children all over Toussaint will have random lines referencing various episodes of Game of Thrones. You can find little girls who will say that her brother gave her a sword which she named Needle, referencing when Jon Snow gave her little sister Arya Stark a sword that she then named Needle.
My brother gave me a sword. I named it Needle.
As well as little boys who'll say that he had a dream where he was a wolf, referencing Brandon Stark.
I dreamt I was a wolf.
You can also find other random children that'll ask you if winter is indeed coming.
Is it true? Is winter coming?
During the Blood and Wine DLC, there is a location called the Tourney Grounds. This is where the night tourneys are held during the side quest The Warble of a Smitten Knight. This is a side quest where you partake in a tournament for knights, competing in various different activities. But while you're at the Tourney Grounds, as you walk around, you'll notice that it looks very similar to Season 1 of Game of Thrones. You can even find banners with various sigils referencing some of the houses from the show. There's one for House Lannister, the House of the Inbred. There is a banner for House Martell. Well, it's more of a mix between Martell and Tyrell, who form an alliance against the Lannisters. The name even references Dorne, so make of that what you will. There is another banner for House Tarth, home of the Big Woman, and there is even a banner for House Clegane. This is the house that the Mountain and the Hound are from. You can even find a small jousting arena with Baratheon sigils, but the banners have a more of a House Targaryen style design. Of course, because House Baratheon led the rebellion against House Targaryen. Finally, the sigil that Geralt wears during the tournament is the sigil for House Frey. Since House Clegane is represented here at the tourney grounds, it only makes sense to see someone from House Clegane, right? Well, during the night tourney, assuming you don't lose and choose to finish the tournament after meeting with Vivienne, you'll engage in a 5-on-5 arena battle. If your team wins the battle, you'll have to fight Gregor de Gorgon, which translates to Gregor the Mountain, as Gorgon is the tallest mountain in Toussaint, thus referencing the mountain from Game of Thrones. He even has a similar fighting style and falls just as easily.
No, you can't die yet, you haven't confessed.
During the Coronation questline, more specifically the side quest called King's Gambit, you'll attend a feast in the Skelligan Castle that is interrupted by a bear attack. as a result of poisoned wine. The other details of this quest are not important, but once you head inside the castle, there will be a guy you can talk to named Madman Lugos. He will mention how there hasn't been this much disgrace and bloodshed since the Red Funeral, referencing the Red Wedding from Game of Thrones, where the Northern Rebellion gets betrayed and murdered at their own wedding, footage of which I cannot show as this video would get age restricted. It's even one of the highest rated episodes in the entire show. But of course, if something like this happened in season 7 or 8, it would have gotten a lot of backlash. The Witcher 3 even predicted King Bran. The Fists of Fury questline, unlike the Beat on the Brat quest, are actually a very fun fight club of sorts where you fight with your bare fists. As the name would obviously imply, you'll have to fight and win against 3 opponents, then fight the region's champion. And of course, each of the main regions has their very own version of this quest. When you beat all 3 opponents in the Fist of Fury quest for Skellig, you'll have to fight the champion Olaf. However, Olaf is a bear, and you have to fight him in a wooden arena while others watch. If this looks familiar, that's because it's a reference to the season 3 of Game of Thrones, when the Boltons throw Lady Brienne into a fighting pit to fight a bear, without any weapons. The Skelligans even have similar traditions to the Boltons. Speaking of Lady Brienne, alongside her house sigil being represented at the Beauclair Knight Tournament, you can actually find her in Toussaint. During the Fist of Fury quests in Toussaint, you'll have to fight a guy who is sworn into silence until he loses, but he never does. However, if you defeat him, he will take off his mask and speak to you, revealing that he's no man at all. It's actually
Brienne of fucking Toth.
Now I know what you're thinking. It's a stretch, right? Well, it's a big woman who is good at fighting, with a terrible haircut, and just like how Lady Brienne is suffering from never being good enough, this version of Brienne is suffering from being too good. Her name is even Brigitte. There you have it. That's every single Game of Thrones reference in The Witcher 3 that I could possibly find. At the end of the day, CD Projekt Red are just huge Game of Thrones fans. I mean, they even got Tywin Lannister to voice the Emperor, which is actually pretty good casting, unlike this trash. Anyways, if you want to see more RPG videos, like The Witcher 3 or Cyberpunk, feel free to subscribe, and I guess I'll see you later.